Mrs. Fox, I want to thank you, first of all. Please sit down.
Thank you very much.
For joining us today and for being a part of what I consider the first of many discussions on issues. We were just talking in the back about how we believe, quite frankly, women can solve this. Women in general can solve this issue. I am so grateful that you're here, and I'm grateful to have the opportunity to speak to a woman who, in her own right, in her country, has done so much on behalf of human rights, dignity, work ethic, and the opportunity to make sure that our young women have a representative and a role model, more importantly, not only in Mexico but around the world. And I am so honored to have you here and so honored to know you. Thank you for being here.
This is my honor, Cindy, to be here with you this morning and to share with all of you. Always great to be here, always great coming to Phoenix, and always great meeting people and meeting friends. So thank you very much, and a great opportunity to talk to you, to have this great conversation, to learn from you, Cindy, to learn from all of you. Welcome, Vicente. Welcome.
Oh, by the way.
Yeah. By the way. So, yes, this is an issue, no doubt, and it has to do with dignity. It has to do with equal gender, and it has to do with justice.
Yes.
At the very end, to open opportunities for everybody together. At the very end, to work for equal gender, and at the very end, to look for dignity mainly for women. It's a kind of it's a matter of justice, and we all looking for this. And so, Cindy, thank you very much. I know that you are doing a great job, that you just came from Africa, and I would love to hear from you all your experience and to share our mutual experiences in the different roles that we are having, and to hear all of you also through different questions. So thank you very much again, Cindy.
Thank you.
And I also want to invite you to come to Centro Fox to share with us, to share with people, and to let us know the great job that you are doing in this very special issue.
I would love to do that. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you, Cindy.
I mentioned earlier, before we get started on the issues at hand here, that we had the opportunity to be with you in Mexico the night of your election. I don't know if you remember, we were there with the International Republican Institute observing and received an invitation to come over on a night that we were just sharing that was unlike any other night, not only in Mexico but worldwide. Change was at hand, and it was so special to my husband and I to be a very small part of that. Thank you. We so enjoyed it and wish we could have had the same opportunity in our election. But congratulations to all of you. It was fabulous.
You will.
First of all, the elephant in the room is immigration, I know. It is part of human trafficking, but today we are here to talk about human trafficking and the effect that it has on both of our countries and the effect that it has on the world. And what we can do as two countries that live together, work together, and are great neighbors, what we can do together to help stop this scourge. So if I may, I would like to begin. I'm hearing myself. Is this good? I'm hearing myself kind of, okay. I'd first like to talk to you about our partnership as countries and our two countries, particularly as women. You've been very, very effective in Mexico, as you mentioned, about gender equality. And I'd like you to first of all, discuss for our guests how and why and where this is going in Mexico and the importance of it, if you might.
Yes, well, equal gender in Mexico is going on. It's kind of going on slowly because our culture, because our tradition, and because of the different circumstances that we have all over the country. It has to do also with poverty, and it has to do with education. As you know, in Mexico, when you are a woman, they say by law that you have exactly the same rights, and of course we have them. But on the everyday life, the thing is different. Mainly in the poor families, when they have to go to the university, they go first of all the boys, and after the girls. And it makes a great difference because they don't have the same opportunities. And if they do not have the same opportunities going to the university and about education, the key to open opportunities for the future is not exactly the same, because the key for all the right opportunities and the best opportunities and the development of the country opportunities is education. So in that situation, we are not in the same level, men and women. And also about work. When they have to go for work, for poor families to go to the fields and to go to work with different families, they go the girls and not the boys, because the boys are at the schools, the girls are at home, they have to work, and the others have to study. So since the very beginning, it uses not to be exactly the same. So education is an issue in Mexico, and it has to be equal for everybody. And it has to do with education and how to educate our women, the mothers, the soul of the family are the mothers. It's not a matter just of the father. It's a matter mainly of the mother. So if we repeat in Mexico the same model, we women, and sometimes it has not to do with money or with culture. It has to do with the tradition and what the model that we are learning from our mothers and from our grandmothers, and that is why we have to realize that we have to change. And in little things, I was just talking to Cindy, that we repeat a mistaken model even at home. When we say, here is your brother, here is the husband, here is your father, please stand up and serve the food for them. That is just terrible, and we have to realize that it's not the right way
the same thing
to
here.
do it. Yes, but the country is different, and the circumstances are different. And here you do it because, when you do it because you love it, because you want to do it. But when you do it because there is a custom that you don't have to repeat anymore. Because imagine Cindy, we work together with them. We work together with the men. We nowadays, and thank God it is happening in Mexico every day more and more, they want to work. And what about to be treated in the same way, with the same opportunities when you get back at home, very tired, doing a whole day of work, hard work, and then you come at home and you have to look just yourself, the women, not the man, after the children, helping and doing everything, all the work at home with not help and all that. So it's not the same, it's not equal. If you work out, you work at home the same, exactly, men and women, and it's not going on in Mexico in that way. So to repeat mistaken models in a very little details, it doesn't permit the right changes. So we have to realize, we men, that we have to change, that we have to educate our children in a different way. And then we are going to avoid many wrong behaviors in the future. And then if we push our children, women, to go to the university, if we teach our women, our girls, how to behave in the right way and how to defend their own rights, and how to defend their own dignity, that is the issue. To realize that we have the same, not only the talent, the intelligence, but we have the same dignity. We were born exactly the same. Then we are going to walk in a different path.
Now you know why I love her. I do. Now you know why. I just think she's fabulous.
I believe in that. That is all. That's all.
Well, and it's a lead into why we're here and what we're going on, what we're talking about, and that is, of course, dignity, human rights, and the opportunity to stop women either being trafficked or being sold into what, as we know, is human trafficking. I guess my first question on this particular issue is how, in your opinion, how can the U.S. and Mexico be better partners in stopping human trafficking, number one?
Well, we have to realize, first of all, that there is the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we do not realize it. And we don't want to talk about it, and we have to talk about it because this is a reality, a very sad reality, and it has to do also with drugs. Yeah. And yes. And I was just telling Cindy that I just saw a film which was terrible. How they put together, it's like a mafia. It's a mafia. They put together very powerful people to make it easy between the two countries and all over the world. It's not a matter of Mexico and the United States. It's all over the world and increasing. We have to, that is terrible. This is really increasing, and it has to do with money. And it has to do with money because at the very end, what they do is to sell the person, to sell it for money. And when you see this film, you realize how terrible the problem is, how they prepare them. And they, of course, they take them, many of them, children, young women, and it doesn't matter about the age, but mainly young, how they engañan. How do you say engañan? Engañan, how they... deceive. And take them in for different reasons. At the very end, they don't really know where they are, but they are there, in the wrong place. And how they use drugs to prepare them, like animals, exactly like animals. First, with different kind of food to put them in a good shape, and then how they sell them and offer to the people and offer to different sectors, even very wealthy sectors, and how they put a set, put a show to offer that girl or that young woman to be sold. It's just very, very impressive. And when you realize that this is going on, it is happening here, very near us.
Here,
Yes, very near us. You get just, we have to do something. And why we have to do something? Because, of course, there are the laws, there are public policies, but the reality is the reality. And we, society, citizens, as Cindy and I, that work through an NGO, that work together with people, that work not with the government, but with the society, we have to take this problem in our hands. We have to realize that we have to do something. And we have to do it with love, with passion. And it is much better if we do it in that way, because then we are going to solve it. Government has to do their own job. Society have to do our own job. And this is a matter of society, and not only, we have to be supported by government, but we have to get involved. So it's time to work, it's time to act.
I think you should film a PSA for us, because the Arizona is hosting the Super Bowl in 2015, and we are faced with what every other major city that has hosted the Super Bowl in the past, we're faced with what will be a huge, huge influx of trafficked boys and girls. It's not just little girls and boys, it is little boys as well. Trafficked women, and an influx of, for the lack of a better word, cartels bringing these folks into the country. Where I think New Orleans, they estimated some 600 women, boys and girls, women. We are estimating triple that number in Arizona if we don't do something now about it. So your point, leading to your point that you just made, educating general society, educating our folks that live here and, of course, across the nation about this issue, that it does exist. It exists in your own neighborhoods, And more importantly, we need to look with better eyes, is what I keep telling people. We need to look with better eyes and begin to understand that it's right here. It's right in this neighborhood. It's across the street. It's everywhere. I know that Mexico has had and does have many programs to thoughtfully deal with this issue. But I would like to know your opinion on what you think we could do to better help the victims of human trafficking on both sides of the border.
Yes, yes. And well, it has to do also with justice, it has to do with laws, but it has to do with getting involved with our own society and working in different issues in different ways,
Right.
and to put all of them together about the human rights and about the dignity of the person. You know, and maybe you know that we also have, Vicente and I have a foundation that I started on the year 2001 when I became his wife. They wanted me just to
As
put
they
me,
should.
As they should. Yeah, but no, it's not the tradition in Mexico that the wife of the president, because I didn't like to be called the first lady, that is right, to be an active person in favor of the society. So they say, okay, he's the president, maybe you do not stay at home, but be in a very low profile, don't do this, don't do that. And I said, no, why?
I love you.
It doesn't make any difference because now I am his wife. I mean, I was just also telling Cindy that when I was only 12 years old, I went to visit the woman in jail. And it was just a very hard experience for me, but it provoked me the wish to work and to work for the dignity of women. So if you realize that you have a society and that with this society you better work to make a better world. So through this foundation in Mexico, and nowadays it is also there where you are going to visit us very, very soon in the ranch in San Cristobal, and to work with the whole family, yes, to improve their quality of life, but most to improve their quality of her own lives, to go inside them, to make them to think who they are, and it has to do with leadership, what Vicente is always saying to everybody. You have to go inside you, who you are, and who you want to be, how you want to be, and how you want to live your own life, and to find a purpose in your life, and to do it with each person, with each woman, with each family. Maybe it is a very slowly way, but this is the most safe way and sure way to do it, because you change their minds. And when you have to change their minds, their beliefs, and their heart. If they believe, because they realize it, that they are worthy, that they are leaders, that they must have a different vision in life, that they can get a goal, whatever they want to be in life, for good, of course, being good human beings. That is the main issue, how to provoke in everybody and how to help everybody to be a good human being through their own leadership, through their own self-esteem, because that is also a problem. A lack of self-esteem. Then when you are invited to do or to start a life in a dangerous way, and you do not have enough self-esteem, and if you don't have the right values in you, in your family, in your way of life, that is very easy to get into problem. And that is very easy to get in a behavior that is not the best, not only for you, but for the whole community.
Right.
And you know a lot about it. Cindy, please let us know your experience. You just came from Africa and you work a lot about it.
You bring up a really, really important point on this, because it does begin with self-esteem and with dignity and with the belief in yourself that you can do something better, that you can do it, and especially for young women. We were in there commiserating about, and I said what a great role model she is for Mexican women and for women worldwide. And we commented on the most recent aspect in American society, Miley Cyrus. I mean, if that's what our young women, and I now, at the risk of sounding like my own mother, if that's what we as American women and have our girls look at and look to in belief that that is a way of life that you may lead and that it's acceptable, more to get to the point, is terrifying to me, which is exactly why young women all too often choose an alternate way. Maybe it is human trafficking, maybe it is drugs or whatever it may be. But you are exactly right, and your point is very well taken, and I think it's a point that I make. I know it's a point that I make in Africa when I travel all the time to a part of the region of Africa that is war-torn and is still in war, actually. Yeah. What I'd like to know specifically, though, is we have a lot of gang involvement with human trafficking, with not only trafficking them across the border, but once they're here, then trafficking them around, they move them around in pods and pockets around the country. Is that the same in Mexico? And more importantly, I believe it is, but what can we do to stop the gang involvement, the gangs in general, which are a large part of this, and is it a human rights issue?
It is, and the problem in Mexico is exactly as here and all over the world. It has to do, first of all, with prevention. It has to do with education, it has to do with the family, it has to do with the circumstances, and it has to do how to prevent our children to go on the right way, how to prevent, how to orientate, how to give them the right information, and how to, of course, to respect their freedom, because freedom is a value, no doubt. But if you want to be free, you have to be informed. If you want to behave properly, you have to be well educated. If you want to be a good human being, you have to have the elements and the right values, how to behave properly for being a good human being. And we are all good human beings, no doubt. We are born good, no doubt about it. But how to lead our own family, how to lead our own society, how to get involved, how to prevent. For example, for drugs, the best of the best is to prevent. Once you are there, you are there. Yeah. And once you are there, it's very easy to go on the next step, the gangs, and on the next step, criminals, and on the next step, etc., etc. Being in jail, put in jail, and that is a round circle to go all around. If you go to these gangs and you give them information and you respect the freedom, but you tell them exactly the values for all human beings. It has not to do with religion. It has to do with ethics. It has to do with because this is convenient for everybody. I mean, why do I have to do this? Because this is convenient for me. It's much more convenient for me to be good than to be wrong. I'm not going to suffer, you see. So to prevent, to give information, and to know that the values as being good, discipline, work, honest, generosity, tolerant, but tolerant in the right way, because against dignity, we don't have to be tolerant. We have to be all the contrary, intolerant. And for us women, there is something very special for us, and we understand it very well. Female, women, about the heart. We feel more. We have to realize it. Our emotions are just here, very easy. And I'm very happy it is just like that. Because when you feel more, when there is your heart, not only your intelligence. When you combine in the right way, with the right percentage, your mind and your heart, and you let it feel, then you understand a lot about what we are talking about. When we put our emotions and we are not afraid about them, and we know how to say we love you, and we know how to say I'm sad, and we know how to say I'm happy, and we know how to express, first of all, with ourselves, because that is a problem, and it has to do with drugs, and it has to do with trafficking, with people. When you do not allow to feel into yourself, when you do not recognize that there are many emotions that you don't have to hide, you have to let them to go away. When you have this facility to say somebody, I love you, and when you feel it, because love is the first machine, the first engine in our life, no doubt. So we don't have to be afraid of that, and we don't have to be afraid to show it, and we don't have to be afraid to let them know how much we love them. Doesn't matter who they are. So we have a great responsibility, we women, and we were just talking about that. In some speeches that I used to give when Vicente was president, I used to say, we have to get involved because we need peace, we need harmony, we need love, we need passion, and we have left the men to do it just by themselves, and they cannot. They need us. They need us.
I know John does.
Yeah, they need us. So let's work together. That is equal gender, to work together.
Work together. I agree. It is here in the United States, where there's, and particularly in Arizona, part of our recommendations are about decriminalizing the human trafficked victim. Treat them as a victim, so that when they are brought in, they are brought in safely, so that we can get them away from the pimps and away from their traffickers, get them into treatment in terms of being able to offer them education, opportunity, all the things you're talking about, the issues, the psychological issues that come with being trafficked. With that said, and with what we're trying to do in Arizona and around the country, one of the questions I have for you is, how can we better help on the borders? So specifically, I know that Mexico, along some of the borders anyway, on the Mexican side of the borders, there are these, quote, safe houses for these girls to get to if they can get away. Getting away is the issue. We have not been so successful with that on our border yet. And that all, of course, is tied up and braided with the immigration issue and how we can strengthen. Of course, the whole immigration package is still to be determined whether it will pass or not. My question to you is, how do you think, and what do you think in terms of establishing an ongoing cross-border NGO opportunity to better help, while we have a problem on the borders, to better help these young women and these children as well, to get them out? I mean, to safely remove them, or once they're out, or giving them an opportunity to be able to not cross the border, let's say, because I know that you all, this is a long, involved question, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize. Let's talk to the NGO issue first, because I have a lot of questions in this area, but specifically how we can work together across borders from a non-governmental standpoint.
Yeah, you are right, Cindy, and you were saying that...
I could go on for days, and
yeah,
I'm
you
sorry.
have to... No, you have to consider that they are victims, and you are
Yes,
right. So we have to realize also that. Let me tell you, if we share the border, we share the problem, so we have to share the solution.
Right.
To find it together. We cannot just find it in Mexico, you cannot just find it in the United States. We have to find it together. How we put together, let's say a program, let's say prevention, let's say whatever, but to do it together, that is the issue. We in Mexico, we are not criminals. You are not criminals in the United States.
Right.
We have the problem in Mexico about drugs, and you have the problem in Mexico, in United States, about drugs. But there is a huge difference. United States consume 70% of the whole world drug. In Mexico, we are not consumers. So, we are not. We are victims. Because, as President says always, we are just in the way, coming the drug from South and Central America up to the border. We cannot stop it, but you do not stop it in the United States. You let the drug come in, because somebody has to move it. And as we are just talking about, it's trafficking has to do with drugs. It cannot be in a different way. Trafficking has to do with a very powerful net, a net that is all over South America, Central America, Mexico, and the United States. So to find the solution, we have to put together the solution, to make a real alliance, to work together with public policy, because it has to do with public policies, and it has to do with society, and it has to do with community, and it has to do with family, but together, because we have a problem together, so we have to find the way to get out of it together.
Right. I absolutely agree, and that is one of the issues that we have determined is most important within what we're offering as a solution as a state. But before I go any further, Gil, where are you? Gil, there you are. This is my co-chairman of the Arizona Task Force on Human Trafficking. He is the Director of Homeland Security for Arizona, Gil Arantia. Thank you for being here, Gil. He and I faced yesterday, along with our task force, it's a big issue in the country and worldwide, the issue of Backpage.com. This sells little girls and women online. We are trying. The internet is a big problem with this.
It is.
And so we are faced up here, I know, with trying to stop it, and along with respecting our First Amendment rights, which is the freedom of speech. I don't know, I'm not familiar with any organization such as Backpage in Mexico, but I know Backpage is in Mexico to a degree. What is your opinion of the internet and how this affects human trafficking?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
And now the internet and all the technology in the world is a reality, and this is for good, but it is also for bad. You sell everything, even human beings. You buy everything, even human beings, and it's not regulated. It's not regulated. No. And it's so difficult to regulate it. But it's just, how can you regulate something that is in the air, open for everybody? How can you stop about it? So that is an issue. There is a very good book that is written by a Spanish man, Sabater, and it has to do with ethics through technology. How you can stop all this, because it's there, it's all over. And once it is in the page, once it is in the net, it's for all over the world. It's not only for Mexico, for the United States. So you can share it, for good and for bad. So how you can regulate this? I don't have an idea now.
I know.
You do not go against freedom, because I don't really know. And this movie that I was telling you about, that it's shocking, really. I got shocked. It's just exactly through Facebook.
Facebook.
Yeah. An invitation to this girl to go to Italy. They went, maybe you saw it.
As models, I bet. That's the line, yeah.
There is one for models, and this one is just for a trip or like tourist.
Yeah.
And as soon as they go to the airport, they were waiting for them. They put them in a very luxurious department, and they invited them to a party, and
that was it. Yeah.
That is all it started.
Yeah.
One was killed, overdoses of drug, and the other one was sold like an animal. It's just through Facebook. So how can you regulate it? can stop it.
I have asked my husband that question more than once because the excuse and what they were speaking about yesterday was, well, if we don't do this and help turn the information over to law enforcement, which they do kind of, I mean, it's kind of halfway, that it'll go offshore. That may be the case, but what we're trying to do, at least here in the United States, is to get it out of here, because organizations like Backpage and Redbook and some of the others are they are a large part of the problem, trafficking, moving the traffickers around and getting them to and from.
Yes, yes.
We are looking to, at least in Arizona, we are looking to an opportunity to be able to, in some way, encourage Backpage to do what Craigslist did, and that is no more adult services, none of that at all. Now, they're not buying it, and they're not, they didn't really like our idea yesterday, did they, Gil, at all?
That is a way.
But nevertheless, we're going to pursue that. If we, in the United States, I believe, can stop something like Backpage from selling women online, then I think it'll have an impact worldwide. So we're trying very hard, but I don't know if we're going to have much success, because they have very crafty lawyers. No offense, lawyers.
I hope you get very successful. yeah, it's good for everybody. I mean, it's good for Mexico, for our United States.
Well, they were estimating yesterday that an organization like Backpage made $42 million yesterday last year. Pardon me, $42 million last year on human trafficking, on selling women online. You know, would it be all right if I opened it to questions?
Oh, yes, of course.
I was just getting the high sign over here.
Yeah.
So we have roving microphones.
Yes. Hi. Okay.
You have a packet.
Yeah, my name's Maury Middleton, and I'm with an organization called Fundación de Apoyo de Infantil Sonora. I can agree with Mrs. Fox here, because I've been involved in programs down in Mexico since 2001, and I'm sponsoring 4 girls down there, ages 14, 15, 18, and 19. Mm-hmm. And what we're having problems now is with the U.S. immigration. They're 14, 18, and 19. They're sisters. One lives in San Luis Rio, Colorado. The other lives in Obregon. And we're trying to get humanitarian parole for them to come to the United States. They've been orphans. There was abuse and things like that. And the guys in jail who abused them. And the biggest problem I had was when I was down at the consulate in Hermosillo. We tried to get the oldest one here on a student visa. And then they said, it turned down, well, you want to bring her in here and to adopt it, because Arizona state law says a foreign national from Mexico, they can be legally adopted prior to their 21st birthday, but they have to be here legally. Now, they can get questions.
Wait, okay, slow down. Give me your question, please.
Okay. How can we're dealing with humanitarian parole and everything, and we try to, and I talked with U.S. Immigration. He said if you bring Dulce here on a tourist visa, then adopt her legally, it'd be fraud and should be sent back to Mexico. And that's the biggest problem. We want to get these girls here legally, and so we're trying to do humanitarian parole. But our immigration system, it's a bureaucratic nightmare. And I appreciate any of the help that we could get. Thank you.
Well, I know that our two countries are committed to solving the immigration issue. I cannot answer for the U.S. Congress right now, because as you know, it's stalled. But I know that the two of us, and along with the other women in both of our countries, are committed to making it easier and also making it helpful to these young girls that could wind up in trafficking. Thank you for what you do, by the way, for protecting these young girls.
I've got the package here.
We have some staff over there, and you can hand it to them. Thank you. All right, anyone else? I know there's tons. Yes, ma'am. Wait for the microphone if you wouldn't mind. She's right over here, please, blue shirt. Thank you. Sorry, next time I'll point better.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you both for being here. This is a privilege to be here with you today. Senora Fox, you were talking about the deception, and the tentacles of that deception go all the way back to the family. So, like you were saying, the girls go, they think they're going to Italy, and sometimes someone offers the family a good position for their child here in the U.S., and that's how the whole thing starts. Then when the victim is here in the U.S., they've been told that something will happen to their family. Their family sometimes goes into debt to bring them here. So my question is, how do you get to that issue? Because the victim is so afraid of what's going to happen back home that they may be very unlikely to take advantage of services that are offered to them or an escape.
Please go ahead. Okay. I hear you, because we deal with that every day in Arizona and, of course, across the United States. First of all, we need to address excuse me, gentlemen, the Johns, guys that are doing it. In my opinion, I believe there should be much stronger penalties for those who are buying this, especially with the girls that are underage, and more importantly, making people understand that it's a human rights issue. It is not an issue that this isn't about. Well, it is. I mean, but it's about services rendered. You know, buying a young woman. But more importantly, these guys need to be punished in a hard way. Society needs to understand and be educated on this issue. This is something that needs to be talked about openly, and it's not. And more importantly, respect for these young girls that have been trafficked. They are not prostitutes. They are victims. And we need to change the language of human trafficking in every state in the United States, in my opinion.
Right.
Okay, who's next? We'll get right there, the gentleman that, I can't see if it's a, no, right there next to you, I'm sorry. I couldn't see if it was a man or woman, I apologize. Could you stand, would you tell us your name as well, please?
Gracias, señora Fox. Presidente, señor Fox, gracias. Thank you both. You were talking about education in Mexico, Ms. Fox. What is your input on the new Reforma Educativa in Mexico right now? And don't you think that this is going to lead more to human trafficking?
Well, about the reform, it's just there. I think it's good, and it has to do a lot with society and politics. It's a good step looking for a better education in the schools. But the whole thing about education has not to do only with the school, has to do with the community. And the community are the school, the parents, and the teachers. So we have to be worried about the whole thing, to prevent, to inform, to understand the problem as it is. Cindy just said it in a very clear way, is to realize that the problem is here, not to try to hide it, because we hardly talk about it. And this is a reality. When you hide the problem, you don't want to solve it. And we want to solve it. That is the first thing. And then to understand that the girls are victims. And then to let the girls feel free to talk about it. Because why they don't want to talk about it when they suffer something like that, it's because they feel shamed. And they are victims. They are not guilty. So about the reform is a good step. About the problem, get involved in the solution. Get involved in the information. And get involved in creating a better world. That's what we have to do all together to create a better world. And it has not to do with politics. It has not to do with government. It has to do with everybody.
I agree.
That's what I think.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I agree.
Thank you.
We have time for one more. Let's go back. I saw the gentleman in the white shirt first, so I'm sorry, guys. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Ernesto Valencia. I'm with the Social Justice and Human Rights Program at ASU.
Wonderful.
One of the questions that, thank you. One of the questions that I have is, I understand the education of women is very important to in this issue, but what I wonder is, what about the men and the way that women are portrayed both in the United States and Mexico in beer commercials, sexualized through different things like that? How do we start to change that perception and educating men on both sides of the border to not objectify women in that way and contribute to this issue?
Please, Cindy.
I thank you for your question. And you raise a point, as I said earlier, the Miley Cyrus thing, the whole thing. Not to sound like I'm a prude or anything, but I agree with you. I think that women are sometimes portrayed in a manner that perhaps is not helpful to this issue or any issue, or for the treatment of women in general. Again, it's a change in attitude. It's a change in society. As Mrs. Fox just said, we need to get everyone, our churches, our city governments, our state governments, your neighborhood, your community, whatever organization you're involved in this. It is a change in attitude. And more importantly, the penalties. We need firm, hard penalties on these guys that buy women, that buy boys, also little boys, that are involved in this. Because until we make it hard and understood that we mean business and you are going to jail for a long time if you do this, this is all just hot air. I mean, we might as well be talking about fashion or something else. I mean, really. You know, before we go, I see some of my friends from ASU that are here. Anybody who is from an NGO or a group of people, particularly out of ASU, that work on the human trafficking issue, I'd like you to stand up and be recognized. These guys work hard on this issue. And all too often, these folks are not recognized, number one, and number two, they speak to a group of 1 or 2 or 3 people as well. So I'm grateful that there is a large crowd of people here to hear Mrs. Fox's opinion on human trafficking, to hear the importance of why our 2 countries have got to work together on this issue and work quickly on this issue. And more importantly, in my opinion, for the state of Arizona, make sure that people understand Arizona is going to be a flyover state when it comes to human trafficking, or you're going to jail for a long time. I want to thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you very much.
And I want to say I'm going to be her first volunteer when she runs for president of Mexico.
I was. Thank you very much, Cindy. Thank you very, very much. It has been a pleasure, a wonderful starting of this wonderful
It is
day.
a start. It's just a start. I
And
agree.
just to start, yes. And please come and visit
I-
us. We are going to have a great event together and to meet among friends.
You
We are
can- you
friends
can count
to
on-
find a solution, to
Yes.
make it reality, and to put, I don't know how to say in English, to put the finger on el dedo en la llaga, how you say that in English? To put the finger in the problem, to put the finger in the heart.
Right.
There is that's all. Let's go. Let's work together.
You're
Let's
on.
work
I'm in.
together, please.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for
Has
coming.
been great
Thank
to be
you.
with you. Has been great to be with you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
It's so great to do this. Really. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.